April 5th, 2012, that's my clean date. And I really wish that I had something motivational or inspirational to tell you guys that I had an epiphany and that I put my foot down and decided today's a day that I'm going to get clean. But that's not really what happened. Sobriety found me. Now, there was choices that I made after this date that ensured that I stayed clean. And I'm actually going to say something that some of you may disagree with or find controversial. But to me, drug addiction is a choice. Now let me explain. The disease itself makes those choices really easy, and it makes you feel like you don't have a choice. But that's a lie, because I chose to try meth for the first time. I chose to continue to use meth, and I also chose to stay clean. If there were no choices involved, no one would ever get clean. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what led up to that really non-special day in my life, as sad as it sounds. I was on deferred adjudication, like I said in my last video, and I didn't have anywhere to stay, nowhere to live, and I finally found someone that would let me stay with them. So I was really staying out in the middle of nowhere. And I really only had one dealer that I was working with at this time. And I became less of a dealer and more of a consumer. I didn't have my own transportation, and since I was out in the middle of nowhere, no one really came out there to see me because I wasn't really easily accessible. The guy that I was staying with, he liked to play games with me, like head games. And I had, the night before, been held at knife point all night long by this guy. He claimed to be in a gang. I don't know if he was, and at this point I don't really care. And he was trying to get something out of me that I didn't have for him. The next day I went to my dealer's and got some dope. And when I was there, I was shaking. And she asked me what was wrong. And I just told her I didn't really want to talk about it because I was afraid that he might do something to me. And so I got the drugs and left. Right after I left, she got raided. And anyone that's in the dope game knows the last person to visit you before you get raided is the narc. But here's the thing. I didn't snitch anyone out. And now when I look back at it, I think maybe the guy that I was staying with might have had something to do with it. I'm not sure. But as much as he liked to play head games with me, I could see him holding me at knife point all night to make me scared, make me act weird when I go in there. And then I heard that it was right after I walked out the door that she got raided. I don't, to this day, know if he had anything to do with it. But I had pretty much lost my connection to the dope world. Now, the guy that I was staying with at the time, he had some connections out in the middle of nowhere. But by this point, the money had dried up. And I say April 5th is my clean date because the day before, there was a pipe that has some residue left in it. And I tried smoking it. I didn't really get high. But that was technically the last time that I did drugs. And I continued to stay with this guy. And it's not that I didn't want drugs. We just didn't have any way to get them. And I was going through withdrawal. I would sleep a lot, but then I couldn't sleep. I was waking up anxious. I started walking around outside just to burn off some excess energy. One of the guys that I was hanging out with in the middle of nowhere and actually doing drugs with had suggested to me this faith-based women's shelter that I could go to if I just wanted to get away. I ended up calling, making an appointment to go up there, and he drove me out there. and I met with the lady that owned the place. I didn't stay that day because they didn't have any room for me at the time. He brought me back and we made a plan. And a couple of days later, I ended up packing up all of my things and leaving. And that was the day that I decided that I was done with drugs. But really, sobriety found me. And I'll talk more about the rest of my life in my next video. My name's Amanda, and my hope is that through sharing my story, you'll find the inspiration and motivation to find that life that's waiting for you on the other side.